Board. Good morning. Here's your morning coffee. a little dose of energy bowl. Energy bowl. Red Bull. Energy. Dose of energy. Okay. Hey, here in the St. George office. Say hi, everybody. Yeah, it's a beautiful spot here. Trying to move around a little bit, but my wife reminded me, hey, you know your daughter's buying a house tomorrow, right? And I'm like, oh. I was so focused on the grandson, forgot she was buying a house. So she's like, you're not leaving. I'm like, no, of course not. I'll be here. Because I love to move washer and dryers and refrigerators.
I like to work out, Will.
So
that's like
yeah, it's my most enjoyable thing to do. Just think as realtors how many times we've gotten out of moving someone. But you can't do that when it's your daughter very well, at least. But okay, hey, good morning. Welcome to coaching, everybody. Hope you're having a fantastic morning. Anyone got their exercise in already? All right. Hey, half the room here. Yeah, I did. Took off this morning, tried to have a every run has a purpose. Sometimes it's meditation, sometimes it's just time, sometimes it's distance. There's different purposes, different runs. But today was about being fast. So short distance, fast. And I was pretty surprised that I was averaging just below a 9:30 mile, which I used to do that at 7:30s a mile, but not anymore. Now we're happy if we get a 9:30. And we're just going to celebrate that, okay? Don't give me any grief. I'm not as fast as I used to be. And by the way, Angie, I'm free to say exactly what my pace is, unlike other people. You guys don't know this, but Angie Larkin never tells anyone how fast she runs. So when she challenges you to a race, you have no idea what you're up against. And then she's haunting you at every corner.
No, it's a secret.
Yeah, because you think she's running right, either like, how could she be in front of me? Anyway, that's another story for another day, but she challenged me to run a race, tricked me into doing that, actually. I thought we were just going to run a race for fun, but then she told everyone at Brookshire that it was a race. Which, wah, wah, there went the fun.
You still came in first, Will.
I think the joke was on me, Angela.
Did she let you win?
No. The truth, she did not let me win. What she did is she forced me to run at 100% of my ability the entire freaking time. So I hated the race. I hated the entire 13 miles. It was miserable because I thought Angie was right on my tail. And at any second, she was going to pass me because she never told me what pace she was running. So I just ran as fast as I could. And every turn I'm looking over my shoulder, but I get to the finish line and went and got my bag, changed, got a bagel, had a leg massage, went home, had breakfast, did my taxes, came back, and Angie is just barely crossing the finish line. Anyway, I have to give her grief because she did it on purpose. Didn't you, Ange? Yes, you did that on purpose.
Those were good times.
Yeah, I looked at my watch and it's got like your levels of cardio, and redlining is like not really that healthy, because your cells in your lungs are colliding and you're tasting iron. It's not good. Anyway, welcome everybody. Glad you could be with me today and with us together. So last week, I just put on the board last week, this is what we talked about last week. Isn't that great? Look at all these great tips. This was what we called the greatest hits. So I just thought I'd review those really quickly. So is to not forget how important all these are. So first one, we can't learn anything. This is like, stay humble, keep learning. Okay, nobody has all the answers. You become what you study. So the question is, if you ran this morning, if you ate well, but what are you studying? So let's be mentally healthy as well. So always consume something that's exciting to you that can better you and sharpen a saw there. Lots of different things you can study. Improve your morning, you're going to improve your whole day, week, month, and life. And I believe it starts in the morning. So and there's some categories to this. You know, there's eating right and exercise and meditation and study can all go into improving our morning. And we prioritize in the morning as well. We plan. Master the forms. Memorize the language in every section of the forms because so often they become the answer to the client's question. You know, what will they inspect? Section 8, right? Okay, what happens if the appraisal doesn't come in? Section 8.2, 8.2, right? So, and then use the forms to present. So today we're going to talk about improving our communication skills, but use the forms as a visual when you present. Master them so well that you can go right to the section and refer to that section, point to the words upside down, and use them as a presentation tool. If you're not there yet, just go back to mastering the forms. Go back to improving your morning. Go back to study, right? This all can be done in here. Next one is memorizing the 7 factors. So when you memorize the 7 factors, you have structure. Now, I've been talking about this for 3 straight weeks, but there are the factors that play in on how long a property will take to sell and what it will sell for. So when people say things like, what will my property sell for? We think of the factors, okay? So there's a lot, there's not just one thing. So make sure you're being honest about all that. The next one is to be consistent in what we do. So often this is, you know, the prospecting end of the business is, well, how do I get more leads? And we lead generate consistently. That's how you're going to start moving the ball, okay? The one to show up and be present, you know, it's hard to get anything out of any moment if we're not focused on that moment. So, you know, be where you are and be focused on that thing. Then move on to something else, okay? So, did you watch that video last night?
Not yet.
Didn't watch it? Okay.
I watched
So there's just one of my mentors says you just don't, the idea that we're spinning plates is actually not, it's not a good metaphor to use about life. Okay, really you can do one thing and that's it. You can, like right here, look, you guys are right here right now. It's all you can do. If you're not present though, you'll get nothing out of this. So we focus here, then we move on to the other priority. Okay, so you really aren't spinning multiple plates at the same time. You're spinning one plate at a time. That plate comes down, you spin another plate. So we can say work, family, exercise, hobby, church, whatever your priorities are. You can only do one at a time. And I suppose if I said, well, I went exercise this morning, I must have neglected my family, right? In a way, I guess you could say, well, I was doing nothing other than that. I mean, I wasn't working, but I was exercising. So you can only do one thing at a time. I do like it when I can study and exercise at the same time. I like that too. Attend as many in-person meetings as you possibly can. This is for your mental health and mind. Context over content is to bring why to data. Do not assume that people understand what the data is saying. Okay, you're going to have to make sense of it. So knowledge is nice, but wisdom is why it matters. And that's where your value is, okay, in context over content. The hexagon and core 4 I put up there because when we're trying to better something, we go to this pattern here. There's a pattern of how to improve. This things like attitude, what do I study, what do I learn, who can help me, all in this pattern, you know, set our first event, schedule our first event. The core 4 is where how I'm doing with the principle. So like if I said something like hold open houses or learn Moxie or learn technology or be better at Real Scout or something like that to that, you're somewhere in the core 4 when it comes to things like that, okay? And then the last one is don't take yourself so darn seriously. Okay. This is why I ended sales meeting yesterday with 3 of my best summer dad jokes. Okay. So I'll save those for the end if you missed it. But I dug up some pretty good ones that were, you know, more summerish. But yeah, don't take yourself so serious. Make sure you have humor in your presentation. Okay, so I'm going to share a screen and let's go to page 150 in the manual. So we're going to sharpen our saw on questions. So how about we quickly review these paragraphs here. First one is questions help us discover. Somebody want to bail out my voice for a minute? So questions help us discover. Colton, read what's after that. The right question, really loud.
The right question asked at the right time can be very effective way of discovering problems and setting proper expectations. It places the prospect at the center of the conversation.
Perfect. Okay, so slow down, be patient, ask more, keep digging, get clarity, and then make diagnosis is the idea of asking the right question. So next one, Linda, what does questions allow?
Questions allow you to lead the conversation. When you ask a question, people answer. Then ask another, then a series of questions. Each good question elicits a response. Remember, the one who asks the questions leads the conversation.
Yeah, last night I called Lindsay Cordova because I was driving by her house and it was 8 o'clock. I go, hey, I'm driving by your house. I said, what's for dinner? I know I'm kind of making light of this, but you know, when everyone ever call you and say, Stan, what's up? That's a question. Who's leading the conversation?
Yeah.
They are. You know, and you got to be more like, hey, how are you? I'm fine. Bad question. What's for dinner? Oh, it's funny. Really? You're going to stop by for dinner? Remember 30 years ago, we used to do this. You know, we used to just knock on the door at dinner time. Put another plate on. We laughed about that for a minute. Anyway, I was just asking her if her offer had come in or not. So we're crossing our fingers on that will happen actually today. So, but yeah, whoever asked the question leads the conversation. So this is a great way to take the lead in your presentation as we ask questions, you know, and really take an interview approach to the conversation. Stan, go ahead and read that one.
Questions force you to listen more. It is always important when working with people to effectively listen to them. People want to know we care about them and their concerns. They want to know that we can offer real solutions to their problems with their best interests as the top priority.
Mm-hmm. So this is different than I ask a question, you say something, and then I'm thinking about my response. We talked about this yesterday. And Sandy and I were talking about this skill set. Instead of thinking about my response to your statements or answers, I'm thinking about another question related to what you said. You know, like, tell me more about that. How did that feel? Or yeah, how does that make you feel? Or how was that on everybody? Are the kids nervous about this move? Well, what did they say? So it sounds like you haven't even said anything to the neighbors yet. What are you worried about that? And they say something, why would you be, you know, there's more to it. There's layers to this. So it sends a really good message to the person that you're really caring about what they're going through. And you become a very good listener by asking really good questions. Okay. Not only do you get a better diagnosis. So questions also help them resolve their concerns. I love this question. Which property fits your needs? House number 1 or house number 3? I could just say, hey, I know you really well, Colton, and I'm telling you what, you could hang a really nice trophy elk in that open area. Or I could say, which one is better for your needs, house 1 or 3? He answers. And I said, so why is that? Like, tell me specifically what it is. They start resolving their own concerns. Now, the fear we have is they're going to go double down on something that's not going to be right or good. When it comes to handling objections, we fear sometimes that people will double down on a wrong answer. And I know that's the fear, but most of the time in my experience, they talk themselves right around back to the logic, right? So, or at least they'll start asking you. They'll say, am I right about that? You know, if you'll give them the microphone, they often will hand it back to you. So questions help in other ways, not just in sales, but in leadership and in management. I think if we clearly understand other people's concerns, you know, try to have a conversation with your spouse by only asking questions, just for fun. See how that goes. Oh my goodness. All right. Hey, another skill set here that when you're asking questions and people have answers, a really powerful statement you can make or show is to write down what they're saying. Okay. So when you say, oh, let me make a note of that. I ask, they say, I write it down. Hey, ever go to, let me stop sharing for a second, ever go to the restaurant and they, the waiter or waitress doesn't write down your order and there's like 8 of you? And what do you think in the entire time? Yeah, Mike, you're right. You're like, this isn't going to go well. And it's probably going to be what I ordered because I had something a little unique. And then we're going to end up waiting, right? So even if they get it right and they show their amazing memorization skills, you still are concerned about it, right? So that doesn't send the right message. So I want to always tell those waiters or waitresses is like, you're not doing yourself any favors. You think it's cool that you've memorized the menu. You think it's like, but you're sending a message that this could go wrong. So when I ask Linda a question and she says something important, I write it down. So, you know, and then I ask for clarity around what you said, right? Okay. Really good tip is to write it down. Okay. Let's move right along. Back to show screen. So, you know, I love studying the law. I'm seeing here law in the question, but, you know, there's some questions that the law does not allow you to answer or ask because they're that powerful. They're like leading questions. You can't do that in court. That's a leading question. Well, we have no rules in real estate. We can actually figure out what's going on, understand their position, not to be salesy, not to take advantage of somebody, but to get clarity. Okay, that's the purpose of questions. I also love this whole debating style and Socratic method of we just ask questions. You know, like if we're really going to net the most, I mean, how do you think we're going to go about that? At the end, like getting the buyer who will pay the most and net you the most, how are we going to do that? They're going, well, you're the expert, you tell me. Great. I can. If they go down that road, they're going to end up right back at the logic that, you know, okay. I have a great sentence here that I read this morning when I was getting ready for this, that I thought, check this out. When somebody says, right here. By the way, all these objection handling statements, if you read them just like that, you're doing it completely wrong. Never do that. Never just answer with these answers. These are structures. You should use your own words. You should be very authentic. You should not be salesy. You shouldn't be scripted. You shouldn't be robotic. You should make mistakes because you're authentic. You should stutter a little bit. You should trip over your words, say the wrong word. All of that is better than you being completely scripted, unauthentic, and robotic. Understand? Really important that you do not just take this and say it word for word. But look at this sentence here. It says, I'm just having this response number 2 to like, I don't want to pay your commission. This is like, I want to pay a lower commission. I found an agent who will charge me less. Okay. So I want to go with someone who will charge me less. Response number 2. And I would put in my own words here. Is netting the most important thing to you? See, that's a question, right? I'm asking, is netting the most? So already I framed the equation that we've got a sales price minus all the costs and concessions to equal net. And isn't the bottom line, the net, the most important thing? Already putting a structure there. Okay, so they're going to say, well, it is. Or I can say netting the most is most important thing, right? Which is a tie down because there's an answer there. Like it's a yes. This tie down is a form of a question that elicits a yes response. Okay, so I'd say netting the most important thing, isn't it, Linda? And see, naturally, you're going to say, well, yes, it is, of course. Of course, it's netting the most. Okay, so how are we going to do that? Well, that's the question. There you go. That is the question that will drive Berkshire Hathaway for decades to come. How do we net the most for our seller clients? Because if we know that equation, we're going to own that secret sauce and we're going to go out there and help a lot of people net the most because it is what we do. So here's how we do it. We smartly price, broadly market, manage interest and offers, and clearly contract our terms with the buyer. I love that line. Look at all that's encompassed in that. We smartly price, we broadly market, we manage interest and offers, and we clearly contract the terms with the buyer. Let me stop for a second. Remember the core benefits of all sellers? What are they? What are the core things that everybody wants? First of all, they want the highest price. And the other thing they also want next to that is the highest net. Okay? What else do they want?
Speed.
Yes, they need time. So they want the least amount of time. So they want like least amount of days on market. Days on market. Or we could say a time frame. They would say, ideally, I want to be closed by Labor Day. That's the time. I want the highest price, I want the best net, and I want to be closed by Labor Day. What else do they want? And what does smooth mean? Okay, we can say smooth because you've memorized it, and I love that. It moves smooth. But is this legal risk? Okay, they want the least amount of legal risk. And that's a real concern with people, right, Colton? You get in a transaction and it goes sideways, and all of a sudden you've got more mess on your hands than you know what to do with. And you can't get rid of all liability in every real estate transaction. So think about that statement. We smartly price. We broadly market. Right? We clearly contract buyers' terms. We manage the interest. Remember in the multiple offers, we manage interest. There's a lot to that. This is just the simple sentence that goes along with how do I net the most. It takes practice to get these responses right. So there's one more up here, and it's the chance. Oh, Will, chance. Selling. Okay, so I've got legal. This is like odds. I always think of a percentage. Like, will it sell or not at all? Even sell, chance of selling, legal risk, time frame, net. This has to do with costs. Okay, concessions. Then price. So this is the beginning of the equation, right? Sales price minus costs equals net. That's all we're saying. But there it is. This is what we call core benefit. Everything we do is that for that reason. My job, your job, all of our jobs right here. This is the reason we do what we do. This is the why. This is the wisdom. This is what we have to translate it to. So why do we have coaching? So we're better at this. Why do we have Moxie? So we're better at this. Why do we memorize the form? So we're better at this. Why do we have a marketing department? So we're better at this. And everything that goes into marketing, everything is about the core benefits. So the reason I bring that up is all of our communication and the way we go about communicating, we have to tie in the reason to the what. Here's what we do. Here's why we do it. Because that's where the value is realized. And then the objection just vanishes. Because value took its place. So I'm not as concerned as I was in the beginning. Like I was thinking about saving 1.5% by going with a cheaper realtor. And now I'm like, that's the last thing in the world I want to do. Because I really want this. And how am I going to do that again? I'll tell you what, just for fun, no, for fun, everything's fun for me in these, this is dessert. Yeah, this is dessert to me. Take a second if you're not with someone, say that sentence back. If you're with someone in the room here, turn to the person next to you and say that line. We smartly price, broadly market, manage interest in offers, and clearly contract terms with the buyer. See if you can get all that. Go ahead. Stan, tell Christina, you can read it. Go ahead and say it out loud, you guys. Let's take like 15 seconds in doing that. We smartly price, we broadly market, we manage interest in offers, and we clearly contract our terms with the buyer. Each take a turn. Okay, you got it? So there's a lot of different responses that we can, have with I want you to be authentic. I want you to be real. I want you to be honest. I don't want you to be scripted. But when you go through this section of the coaching manual, there's some structure to some of these responses. So I think the thing is to memorize the structure, but don't memorize necessarily the words. Okay. So back to this concern is, what's our real objective? Netting the most. So that's how we all got started, right? With this conversation, they said, I found someone who might be less. Okay, let's keep our eye on the price. The less might contemplate this part of the equation, like the cost. That's what it's saying. So if the logic is that we lower commission to increase net, well, what does the lab experiment say about that? Is there data that supports, like on a broad scale, does the data support that if we lower the commission, we improve the net? It doesn't at all. Matter of fact, the opposite is true. Because we don't smartly price, we lower the price. We end up giving up equity because we didn't smartly price. Because the objective so often with those who are racing to cheaper is just transactionally based. Not relationship based. I'm getting down like the heart of the reason is transactionally based, not relationship based. If they can have a closing, have a transaction, that's a victory. That's it. So then you get into that. If that's the core of it, then they go into make business decisions. That less is more, less is more, less is more, which is not broadly marketing, by the way. And it's not effectively marketing either. So the purpose of marketing is to expose the best features of the property in its best light to the broadest market. How are we going to do that? It's going to cost what? You have to be serious. Like, let's get real about real estate. Where's my realtor magazine? We had a great ad. By the way, marketing department put a great ad in the Salt Lake board magazine, and the heading of it is, are you ready to get real about real estate? See, let's get honest also. There's no shortcuts in this. If you want to broadly market, it's going to cost money. And what we have found is, and this is I understand how you feel. Others have felt the same way about netting the most. Here's what we have found. If we take the commission dollars at the 3% side, and we smartly price and broadly market, and we spend the money on the exposure, we net more than we would if we jettison out the cost of the commission. That's the lab experiment. In other words, you're better off spending the 3% sides than you are if you reduce it. Now, there's some real extreme data points that have come back. I think that some of us have heard, but we have got a lot of discount models out there that have really harmed the equity position of their sellers when they've been on the market for 6 months and didn't sell, had really low buyer agent compensation rates, meaning that they did not employ the force, they did not broadly market, they put a problem for the buyer agent to solve with their own client, okay, so that's why it didn't get shown. That's why the offers didn't happen, because they were already in the way. Low commissions also send a message that the seller is, well, you guys tell me, okay, talk about using questions. If you see a 2% BAC, is that seller motivated to sell and will be easier to negotiate with for your buyer? Or is that already a signal that they're not going to be easy to negotiate and it's going to be a problem? You tell me. You already know the answer. You see that and you go, that's a problem. How are they going to be on the inspections and due diligence? How are they going to be about that? You tell me. It's a 2% BAC. Go ahead. You already know the answer, right? You already know it's going to be a nightmare. So what does the buyer do? I mean, buyers are just like all of us. They go find the better deal. It's their money. It's your money. You go shop and you go get the most you can for your money. And that's exactly what the buyers do. Anyway, a lot of tips in this, but this takes practice. If we're going to memorize the 7 factors here, memorize these. Okay. How many of you got those memorized already? You feel like you got them memorized? Do you have the core benefits memorized? Hey, Eric, good to see you, man. Glad you got your camera on. So yeah, do you feel like you have the core benefits memorized? You think you could give them back? You think you could write them down? You think you've got them? If you're there, congratulations. Excellent. Remember to translate that every time you talk about what we do. When you talk about what we do, give the reason we do it. Okay. Man, there's so much more to talk about on this. I wonder if I did that. Hold on, guys. Let's see if there's. Let's try something. Okay, why? Let's take something simple like an open house. Why do we hold open houses? I think Colton's been in my classes before. That's exactly why we do open houses. Because what does open house do better than anything else? By the way, Colton's answer was to create neighborhood awareness. Now, that I think that's top answer. I think that's a bullseye. I think that's a kill shot. Speaking Colton's language, he's a big hunter. So I think that's a bullseye. Okay. What are other reasons why we do open houses that are unique to open houses? That like they do better than anything else? Anybody? It can showcase the listing to the neighborhood. I mean, it's signs, it's to the neighborhood. Yes.
Gives you the opportunity to sell the home rather than the other agent. You know a little bit more about the home. They're your clients. Maybe you could sell a little bit better.
Yeah. So the conversation here in the room is find potential buyer might be help you to sell your listing. I would change these a little bit because yes, I think that's true. But when we're talking to clients, we should emphasize why it's better for them. And why, and so just change our statement a little bit on what Colton said is that if I'm here, I'm the most informed about this property, we increase our chance of getting it sold because I'm here. And now that puts them at the center instead of the agent at the center, right? Like we don't hold open houses to get buyers. That's not what we tell our sellers. I mean, although that's true, and that's not really the main reason we do it. I mean, we hold open houses to what? To bring awareness of the property to the neighborhood. That's the unique thing that it does. Okay. Yeah, and also Rachel's point is it's showing that you're putting forth the effort. I mean, you know, at the core of this, they hire you to sell it. So what are you doing to sell it? And I think that that's kind of in the line of what Colton was saying about I know more about the property. It increases our odds. If I could talk to every buyer as a listing agent, I've got a better chance of having them recognize the positive features of the home, potentially write an offer. That's what this is all about, right? And it shows I'm putting forth the effort. So excellent. So if we were to translate, okay, so what we do is open house. The reason we do it is to create neighborhood awareness, which here's what I see, guys. I see a unique benefit, and then I see a core benefit. When you get really good at this, you take the unique benefit or specific benefit and you tie it to a core benefit. The reason we do open houses primarily is to drive neighborhood awareness, create neighborhood awareness, drive traffic through the neighborhood. There you go. And increase our chance of having the property sell. Or the reason we do open houses is to create neighborhood awareness of the property and increase our exposure in the neighborhood. Now I could add to this and say, look, a lot of people are very hyper-focused on Park Meadows. Hyper-focused. They're only going to buy something in Park Meadows. If it's not in Park Meadows, they're not even a buyer. So knowing that, we want to create the awareness that the property is for sale inside Park Meadows. Neighborhood awareness. Then I go to drive the highest and possible best price in net. And that's what it's all about. And I can say, isn't it? So there's my, like if I wrote, if there was a piece of the board here, I'd go open house, neighborhood awareness, increased chance of getting the property sold, or highest net. And that's the conversation. This is what I do. This is why I do it. Become a master at taking what you do and tying it to why you do it. You'll be a master communicator. You agree? And if you start putting tie downs at the end of your statements, they help you communicate better. Don't you think? But once you get started, it's kind of hard to stop. Don't you think? Would you? You guys catching on what I'm doing here? Yeah. They're all questions, right? Yeah, it's like always a question. And don't drive everybody crazy, but yes, there's something about using questions at the end of discussions. Do you agree, Eric? You agree?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. All right, let's go back to show screen. Let's go to page 151. I just think it's interesting when you take a look at the law and the question. Like sometimes we have things that they're evidence, you know, like questions are like, well, you know, what they ask or how you ask it or governed by laws. Things like, how long have you lived here is a very direct question. You know, was that repaired? Very direct. This one was how long how have you lived address for 12 years, right? So this is a leading question. Like you knew the answer. You would not do this to a seller, but think about the law and the question. If the law is saying some kinds of questions are restricted, maybe that should tell us we should use questions more often to be better communicators. If anyone ever says, hey, when you were at the convenience store, what did you see? First question was, so were you at the convenience store? Oh, no. Was definitely not there. Huh, okay. 5 minutes later. So when you're at the convenience store, did you see them in their car? No, I didn't. Yes, I did. Wait, were you there? Let's fill this in. The person who asked the blank leads the, what is that? Yeah, the person who asked the questions leads the conversation. Very good. So questions, conversation. When they say it, they blank it. What does that mean? I don't know if I told you this one yet. But one great thing about questions is they question what you say, but they believe what they say. So this is why questions are so great. Because if you can get them to say it, they've already believed it. This is why I go back and say the net is the most important thing, correct? And they go, yes. I might even say, why is that? They say, well, we're buying a new house. What's the sales price? This is me digging in. What's the sales price? What's the down payment required? Do you have that exact number yet? They go, yes. The lender told me I need 20% down. Okay, so 20% down of what sales price? I can do the math. I write that down. So we're looking at what? We're looking at $100,000 down. Is that correct? They go, yes. Okay, then we've got closing costs. Did they tell you about that? Yes. How much is that? So we've got $120,000. So $120,000 is what we need to net. You see, I could have just said, we need the most net, right? But we dug in deeper using questions to get down to right down to the detail, cellular level. Now I know exactly what they need. Now I've got the equation. So when they say it, they believe it right here. So let's put believe. We blank more of what we say than what was blank. Okay. So this is also believe. We believe more of what we say, okay, than what was said. I always think it's interesting. Have you ever had a friend or a child or something, a teenager tell you a story about a conversation they had? I'm serious. All they can tell you is what they said. Try it. You go, well, what did they say? Like, well, what did your friend say? And they go, well, I said, you guys should have come and picked me up. Okay, but what did they say, honey? Well, I just said it would have been a lot easier for you to just come get me, but you guys left me out. Why is that? Because people believe what they say more than what was said. When I ask questions, I show a sincere interest in what? Their concerns. Let's write that right there, their concerns. The right questions help us move the blank process forward. Well, it's the sales process. Without being salesy, I would always add a little asterisk. Let's not be salesy. Let's understand the sales process. Tie-down questions help me get the minor yeses that lead to the major yes. So minor yeses are things like netting the most is the most important thing. Is that right? Or I can say, I think we both agree that netting the most is the most important thing. That's a minor yes. And it sounds like we need to have the home closed no later than September 1st. Is that correct? And they say yes. Those are minor yeses, minor yeses. Okay. There's other ways to use questions that are you could use, like make sure I've got these in the right order. Okay, let's use a question to answer a question. Does your company do open houses? I guess you could go a couple of ways here. You're going to say, well, of course we do. A lot of our sellers like them. But I need a question here, don't I? Does you see does something feel like it could be lurking behind this question? Anybody? Yeah. What if they're just looking for someone who does not hold open houses? And every agent who's come in has been pitching an open house, and they just don't like them, and they're not interested in it. They want a qualified buyer. They don't want the looky-loos. They want the listing agent there at every showing. They want them accompanied with an agent. They don't want customers walking through. They want represented clients. That's what they believe is best, and it's frankly not entirely wrong. We could handle this like an objection. We could say, you're not doing open houses is an objection. I understand that. We should definitely have a conversation. But this is about understanding people. Does your company do open houses? So what should our response be, Linda?
How do you feel about
Okay, so Linda says, how do you feel about open houses? Maybe we could say, is that important to you? you know, I get that sometimes, you know, like be authentic here. Like if you would drive someone insane if you always answered a question with a question, but I think yes, but you're gonna, yeah, we don't want to be, you know, the politician, right? So, but there is a question that needs to be asked here is how do you feel about that? Or is that something you would like? Or tell me, you seem concerned about that. Could you tell me more about that? What's been your experience? So that's one way to do it. So we're asking a question with answering a question within a question. Once we list our property, how often can we expect to hear from you? Well, as soon as we get an offer, I'll be right on the phone with you. No, let's not do that. Yeah, Sherry, I mean, do you want open houses? I see in her comments there. Sometimes it's just, hey, what would you prefer? But tell me the reason. I think we need to be better at get the reason for some of that. So how often can you expect to hear from you? How about this? How often do you want to hear from me? And they would say, gosh, honestly, I'd like to hear from you every single time there's a showing. No problem. Let me write that down. Okay, that's frankly what would happen anyway. When there's a showing, I'll try to get you the feedback if I'm aware of something. But we could be a lot better at, well, if there's no activity, say Monday through Wednesday, you want me to talk to you every day, or how do you want to do that? And what's the best form of communication? I mean, this is hear from you. Do you want an email, a text, or a phone call? See, these are more questions. I'm telling you, questions are the answers. Questions are the answers. Eric's comment. I'm much more comfortable asking the right questions with clients and less effective with my teenagers. Yeah. I feel your pain, brother. If you can get through the teenage years, man, that's gold medal. You'll be a fantastic realtor. Do you put a key box on my house? Same kind of thing. It's kind of got a lurky. Last night, though, Callie goes, Mom, are you making dinner? And it just has one of those tones like, well, do you want me to make dinner? Or do you like, well, what are you making? So is this like you already have an option A and now you have option B and you're just trying to pick your options? You know, like, so there's this question sometimes can tell you a little bit, but you got to ask clarity. So do you put a key box on my house? What would you guys say? Do you put a key box on my house? I mean, what if you even said something like, well, we prefer to do that. It makes showings. And what if you just went down this whole thing about how great key boxes are? And they're just incredible. Like everything about key boxes is amazing. It'll even make dinner for you. You know, it'll even just sign the offer. It's incredible. It's incredible, this technology. And they're like, I hate key boxes. And then you're like, uh-oh. So you just do that one time and then you learn to go back and ask a question. Do you put key boxes on the house? Well, let me ask you this. Would you prefer that?
If it makes dinner, I'm putting one on mine today.
Yeah, it's. Yeah. Who was that? Kim? Who was that? Is that you, Kim?
It was me.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Don't you hate that question at the end of every day? What's for dinner? in a marriage class, they're like, you're in there with mixed group. And they said, what's the worst question of the entire day? And when they go, what's for dinner? And all the women just go, oh, I hate that. And so he says, like, well, what should we say? Like, if you shouldn't ever call up your wife and say, what's for dinner? You guys agree? So I thought, well, I'll be smart. I'll go, how about this? Like, how can I be helpful? Oh, I got it. I'll call Tammy and say, what would you like me to pick up at the store for dinner? I think I really nailed it, right? She's like, no. You don't have it at all. I'm like, okay, honey, what should it be? You should say, I should call up and say, Tammy, I'm making dinner. And I'm making what you want. Oh, yeah. All right. Questions are very, very powerful. So, no, this has been fun. All right. Well, we're low on time here. Page 50, 51, 52. Just go through those and memorize the structure, not this exact wording, and you'll be so much better in your conversations with people. All right. So, you know, the not take yourself too seriously. Refer to my notes here. Oh, okay. You ready? Here are my top 3 summer dad jokes. You ready? Summertime. Okay. What advice do you give someone who has been rejected for a job at the sunscreen company? Think about it. They've been rejected for a job at the sunscreen company. Ready? Tell them to reapply. Needed. Okay, number 2. What is the funniest place to go for summer vacations? Sorry, I got it wrong. Why are the mountains the funniest place to go on summer vacations? Because they're hilarious. I know. But here's my favorite one. What's the best way to watch a fishing tournament? Live stream. All right. Yes. Live stream.
Hey, Will, I got one for you.
Okay. Hit me.
What's the scariest tree in the forest?
The scariest tree in the forest. I don't know. What?
Bamboo.
Oh, nice. That sounds like we should save that one for Halloween. Okay. Well, hey, thanks for joining me today for coaching. We talked about a lot of stuff. I hope you review last week's tips, the greatest hits for real estate also. Remember to be authentic and real and personable and listen and kind. All those things really win the day. When you're going through these scripts, just memorize the structure, not, don't be robotic with anybody. So that's the Berkshire way. That's the better way. It's just who we are, right? Who we are as a company. But thanks for joining me. I hope you got a lot out of this. And thanks for all the positive comments. Joe, you can hit